Finally getting her turn with the Tuneup Treatment, it is the Moggy cat-type partner of Medarotter Nozomi in the Medarotter S story, with a penchant for high agility and heavy punish. It is MGY00 Gato Arbol, REGRADED, with a kit of Suction, Double Break, Biped Legs, and the leg ability of Battle Stance, which buffs all leg stats, minus armor and heavy limit, for every successful dodge or graze executed by the user. Now, Gato Arbol has most certainly been in the game for a very hot minute now, especially ever since Medarotter Nozomi's release, and has been a very dependable partner since for anyone that does manage to select her. With her penchant for being able to punish enemies with heavier than two or more heavy parts, and the high dodge emphasis that she brings to the table, she is extremely user-friendly to anyone that does manage to collect her or make use of her, and the very unique types of skills that she brings to the table. Suction on the head part is a shooting-based skill that, when used, basically will pull the enemy closer to the command line. This can be put to very good use as a way to stall enemy movements and kind of gives Gato Arbol a hand in crowd control to a point, as this does mean that if she catches an enemy in their cooldown phase, she does have the potential to stall them by basically forcing them to reset their cooldown by pulling them back to the line. Inversely, if she does manage to accidentally catch someone in their heating phase instead, she may accidentally end up accelerating their heating phase instead and guarantee they take their next turn no ifs, ands, or buts and prioritize everyone else in the command line. So some juggling might be required and encouraged if you plan to use Suction to this degree, but in the right timing can be very catastrophic and extremely frustrating to any enemies trying to complete cooldowns. Break on both arms is a gravity attribute skill, which means it is best known for its ability for heavy punish. This means that if the enemy is using at least 2 or more heavy parts, they are most certainly going to be feeling the pain with that heavy modifier. But if they're only packing 1 or none, probably not as much. However, it is also worth noting that as a gravity attribute skill, Break also has a penchant in a bonus condition tied to CG. This means that when attaining a certain level of charge in her gauge, her success between both of her arms will be going up. And success, as a friendly reminder, is tied between your likelihood of landing hits and critical hits on top of that. The higher your success, the less likely things are to dodge you, and the more likely you are to land critical hits and make every hit extremely painful. Biped Legs means that Gato Arbol has very solid coverage across all terrains, with a very solid versatility, but her leg ability of Battle Stance is also very nice too, as with a naturally high base evade, this means every time she successfully dodges or grazes incoming enemy attacks, she will be progressively getting faster, more dodgy, and a lot easier for her to tank incoming hits, because her melee, shoot resist, her evade, and her mobility will go up, stacking 5 times if she does manage a successful dodge or graze. Now, I do also have to emphasize here that this does mean dodge and or graze, so that means you don't have to successfully dodge every single time, but as long as you're able to sidestep and graze, it still counts. Now, as far as the tune-up bonuses that Gato Arbol brings to the table, being completely honest, nothing really changes for her to a degree, because she does stay very largely in her lane with what she brings to the table and how well she does it. The difference is her perks essentially just make her just a little bit better at doing so across the board. And that being said, it honestly was extremely difficult for me to figure out what kind of bonuses would serve her best, because, honestly, all of them do if built correctly. Head of Suction has access to plus 300 to armor, plus 100 to heat and cool each, and 1 additional extra charge for head use. So, like I said, you honestly could build this either way. You could build her for armor to make her more to give her better survivability. Heating and cooling will give you some more, will give you a little more speed when running back and forth. And the extra head charge, of course, means that you can use Suction 1 additional time before running out of charges. So, ultimately, I really have no say. You can kind of build Gato Arbol however you please based on how you see fit, because there's a lot of different ways to build her. Her right arm has access to plus 300 to armor, plus 100 to power, and a success bonus with a 20% charge requirement reduction. This means instead of needing 30 and 100% charge in order to obtain those success bonuses, you now only need 10 and 80. Now, if you're planning to go for the success route and go for your higher likelihood hits and crits, definitely recommend shooting for that bonus. But otherwise, you could still go for the power and make that multiplier when hitting heavy opponents very painful, or you could also go for armor and make her more survivor friendly. Her left arm has access to relatively the same bonuses at 300 to armor, plus 100 to heat and cool respectively, and success plus with the same charge requirement reduction. So again, you could go either way with either arm. You can make her more aggressive, you can make her a little faster, or you could also make her more tanky with extra armor to kind of help her stay in the game a little longer. Now, her legs, on the other hand, actually have a lot of nice bonuses I could definitely recommend that you shoot for, given how she behaves on the field. She has access to plus 500 to armor, plus 300 to evade, plus 100 to mobility. Battle stance can earn an extra 10% per leg ability procced and activated, and of course S rank on grassland terrain. Now, of course, this does not mean that you can get both the battle stance ability and that plus 300 to evade at the same time, given how they behave with the tune-up system and a limited amount of points that you can allocate to other stats. However, it is also worth noting that given that she does fight very specifically as a dodge-type fighter, it is going to be very heavily encouraged that you try to push on those and really make those stand out better than they did before. That extra 10% is definitely going to stack up at some point once things start picking up, because that alone, if you manage to dodge or graze 5 times for those maximum number of stacks, that alone's an extra 50% boost to all your leg stats, before anything else that battle stance already had on top of it. And the extra 300 to evade means she's already going to get just a little bit better at dodging or grazing than she did before. Now, if you choose not to go that route, you could also go armor again for the survival game. The extra 100 to mobility will be rather noticeable too if you'd rather go for speed, but the terrain S rank on grassland, it'd be nice to have, but again, that 10% bonus you're going to be attaining from that, from A rank to S rank, is not necessarily going to be game breaking, so I would not recommend putting any points into that in my personal opinion. But that being said, comparing my original pure set and mixed parts scores, I did have Gato Arbol ranked at a pretty solid 8 out of 10 across the board for very solid synergy and her very heavy penchant for dodge builds and heavy punish. But comparing her tune-up bonuses, and given the fact that she really doesn't change a whole lot compared to what she had before, I do have to maintain my current grade at an 8 out of 10 across the board as well for her pure set and her mixed parts, because her tune-ups allow her to become just a little bit better at what she already can do really well. So if you really like Gato Arbol, then you will definitely be making good use of these tune-up perks once they're fully activated and tuned. Otherwise, being able to still make use of those arms for heavy punish is still a fantastic move you can use anywhere that involves fighting someone with at least 2 or more heavy slots.